So people say, well, where do I start? Well, the first place to start is assess where you're at. Where are you in compared to all your peers? Are you older than your age group or younger than your age group? And we can look at it part by part. There are tests that are validated tools that can determine, do you have the muscle strength, the flexibility, the endurance of people your own age? Are you younger than your age? Are you older than your age? Once you know where you're at, it's sometimes very sobering for some of my patients, because they'll come in for an assessment and say, oh, I work with a personal trainer and I'm really fit. And usually they are for the parts that they worked. But there's always something that they didn't think about. So it's finding out what is unique about you. What do you need to work on specifically, both physically, mentally, hormonally, and nutritionally, as well as lifestyle and genetics. So once you do a complete assessment of all of those things, then it's putting a plan into place, okay? You know, for example, I had a woman who came into me who worked with a personal trainer, and you know, she had very good core strength, she had very good lower body strength, but she had poor balance, and her hand grip strength was extremely weak. So there's her vulnerable point. And it's no surprise that one of the most common fractures in women is a wrist fracture. Why? Because you get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, you trip over something, your balance is poor, you can't recover, you fall, you try to break your fall with your wrist, and because that is not something anybody thinks of working on, that's what breaks. And then I have you need the proper balance of strength, flexibility, endurance, reaction time. If your reaction time is off, you get distracted when your cell phone rings in the car. Hopefully nobody here is texting while driving. You know, your reaction time is a little less, you're distracted, there goes an accident, and it could happen at any time. Or if your balance is off, you're subject to fractures and falls. My bodybuilders, well, you know, they're not flexible. They're very strong, they look good, but they're not flexible at all. So they get tendon ruptures and muscle tears. So understanding what it is that's going on in your body, you can work on it. It's very easy when it's that aha moment, oh, okay, I can do something about that. Because one thing good about the type of medicine I practice is that anything that I find you can fix. You know, most of the things you can really fix, you can work on it. And then there's your brain. How do you keep your brain healthy? Well, we now know that, you know, if you lose a certain part or a certain function, there was that old saying, my mother said, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Well, that's not true at all. If you challenge your brain, you can always relearn. Even people after having had strokes or some type of brain damage, if you challenge your brain, you can start picking up on other parts of your brain will then recruit and go in and relearn how to do things from a different part of your brain. So if you don't use it, you lose it. But challenge your brain. What challenges your brain is, I have people say to me, well, I do crossword puzzles all the time. Well, you're good at crossword puzzles. But what about other aspects? There are two sides of our brain, the creative side, the intuitive side, as well as the logical side. So challenging yourself to learn something new, something totally outside of your comfort zone. Like one of my favorite shows is Dancing with the Stars. You know, you have some people who go on that show who have, it's the furthest thing from anything they've ever done. And you see almost everybody there improves. They do, you know, they don't always start off so great, but they get much better at it because they've challenged their brain. So something like dancing or music or learning a language or learning something new can really help your brain. And also, there are certain nutrients that are specific for your brain. And I know everybody gets extremely confused about supplements. That is a talk in and of itself. But certain supplements will cross the blood-brain barrier and actually get into your brain, others won't. So you need to feed your brain what it needs the most. Fish food. But it's actually one component of fish oil that's much more specific to your brain. It's the DHA component as opposed to the EPA component, because your brain is mostly fat. But it's good fat. So if anybody ever calls you a fathead, it's okay. That's really good. You know, now you say, well, I have the right stuff. So it's also exercising. You know, it's not any one thing. Everybody always says, is there a magic bullet? Resveratrol. If I take resveratrol, I'll live forever. Well, yeah, you can take resveratrol, but if you don't eat right, you exercise, you're exposed to toxins, and you're stressed to the max, that is not going to be your magic bullet. I'm sorry to give you bad news then in that regard. But resveratrol alone is not going to help you. It's a synergistic blend of everything. So, you know, you can take up dancing lessons, but if you don't give yourself the right food to repair and regenerate, and if you don't exercise to get circulation into your brain or take whatever supplements you need to enhance the circulation, you're not going to have optimal function. And then there's nutrition. Oh, wow, that's another subject. You know, we now have superfoods and we have super supplements that can supercharge us. So we can be superhuman beings, and the sky is the limit. Well, you know, these things do work, but you have to know the right combination, how much, how long, how many. We are flooded, absolutely flooded with so many different options that even as an expert who's did a 2-year fellowship and has studied this for over 18 years, there's something new every day, and there's always a twist. It's, I read the literature as much as I can, and I have to tell you, there's a new thing coming out every day in a new form. So oftentimes people come to me with bags full of supplements, and I'll look through them and I'd say, how much did you pay for this? There's placebo amounts that really not going to be helpful to overcome anything. I mean, it's fine just to make sure you're getting a base amount, or they come in a form that's not absorbable. So my other issue about supplements is sometimes you don't really know what you're getting. So I always caution people. I actually tested some things. I worked in a pharma company, or worked in companies with labs, and I also had colleagues who would test some of the supplements that are out on the market, and some of them are contaminated and some of them don't have what they say they're going to have. So I tell people, make sure you buy something that is pharmaceutical grade, which means it's made under FDA standards, and you have some third party testing them to say it actually has the potency and the purity that the company says it has. And it's always helpful to have a company that does research on their products. So the other important thing about nutrition is you can't get everything from a pill. You know, you really need the proper balance of protein, carbohydrates, and fats to operate properly. No one is going to put corn oil in their gas tank, are they? Is there anyone here that would do? I know there's some cars that are formulated for that. Would any of you even think to put corn oil in your gas tank? No. But, because it's not going to run properly. But if we do, we put trans fats in our bodies, and we put in high fructose corn syrup and herbicides and pesticides, I don't think we're going to function quite as well as, is it still working? As well as we think we're going to work. So nutrition is eating the rainbow. Eat every color that you can possibly find, because in each of those there are phytonutrients that are antioxidant, anti-aging. So dealing with the inflammatory process, we want good healthy fats. To help with oxidation, we want every color of the rainbow, mostly vegetables and some fruits. And to deal with the glycation, let's cut back on the sugar and the processed refined carbohydrates and processed foods, because then you're going to really have optimal health. As far as supplements are concerned, it's best to get some tests, get it measured. It's not only, we don't measure only, the interesting thing now is that We're not just going to measure what's in your bloodstream, because all that tells us is that you took something, you absorbed it, it's in your blood. What we want to know, is it getting into your cells? And when it gets into your cells, is it doing the job that it's supposed to do? Because there are other factors that can interfere. You may have been born with an enzyme that's slow, which means you need to supplement with extra nutrients or extra cofactors to make that enzyme work better. So that's the exciting thing about anti-aging medicine, is that there's so much that we can learn about your own unique metabolism to help you overcome certain genetic factors, and then you could control a lot of the environmental factors. So the other thing is age is an attitude. I mean, this is why I love Jim's book. You have to go out and buy it, because you don't want, who wants an old person moving into your body? Age is an attitude. And if you approach anything with the right attitude, you can really overcome the power of the mind is absolutely phenomenal. And aging also has to do with, we heard today, where are you going to live? The people in the blue zones had a sense of community, a sense of purpose. Those things are so important that's what drives you. Because I could give you supplements and hormones, and you could eat right, and you could exercise, you could do everything right. But we're social beings, and we really need that sense of purpose and that community to live, so that we can live a long and healthy life. And I think at this point, what I'm going to do is open it up for some questions.